Setting the context, when we are talking about water, what we are doing right now, or what I have seen in the last 20 years of my work, when we talk about water, we talk in isolation a lot of times. And whether it was my work at Monga Bay Reporters Collective or other organizations, what I have realized that every single thing, every single beat that we are working on, economic paper, whether we work with a sports website, you name it, so on and so forth, whether we work with a pink paper, every single place there is an intersection of water. And if we just start just tweaking our lens, we can actually find places of intersectionality. Anything you name it, and water is intersecting at that place. So when we say, it is not just in hyperbole when we say that water is the part of life, or it's the molecule that structuring the life. So I'll just start with the basic. This is a story that one of our colleagues, Supriya, is here today. She did this story when we were at Monga Bay. So this is a story she did about a water-rich village in Goa, which because of the impact of mining and other business practices is now completely entirely dependent on tankers. The story completely goes into detail how the local ecology, local economy was completely destroyed by poor management and the business interests that we were talking about. Say when I was talking about water and diplomacy, in Nepal we are building a dam. With Bhutan we are already involved. In Bangladesh we have Teesta. So you name the country, Pakistan, Indus Water Treaty, Sri Lanka, we already have marine water issues. So there is no country that India is involved with where we do not have collaboration or contentious or controversy around water. A lot of times right now we are looking at wearing t-shirts which are made entirely of waste. And when we are talking about those t-shirts or those fabrics which are made entirely of waste, we are also talking about saving water while creating those. So in the whole technology, again we are talking about intersection of technology, water, solutions, waste. Why I wanted to show that this story is because, again, when we are talking about the agrarian economy, we are talking about an energy project, we are talking about the impact on groundwater, agriculture, health of people, because the people at that place are consuming that water and consuming that rice which they are growing. So what is happening right now when we are doing these stories, whether we are, no matter which organization we are at, a lot of times we end up working in silos. But what the good part that I have realized in the last 20 years, or the change that I have seen, like we can lament about the role of media or the impact on media these days, but the good part that I have realized, I have seen from the time that I started doing journalism, and especially climate journalism, we have come a long way. Earlier, sometimes, so a lot of times we were treating it as a silos beat, Kutta Billi beat, which was only talking about some species or some climate change ho raha hai. But otherwise, over the last 10 years specifically, I have seen a lot of organizations now tweaking how they are looking at environmental issues. When we have to say energy, when we say water, just changing the lens and just connecting the dots has changed the way people are looking at stories, has changed the way organizations are looking at stories. I'll just share a small story. When I was at Mint, which is an out-and-out business paper in 2015, my editor, who has a lot of interest that time, who's now editor of HT, he had a lot of interest in environmental issues. I took a story which was basically about how there's a competition between birds and defense projects, and how defense projects were leading to impacts on bird habitats and then resulted in forests. It was a story which, if he had not seen it, probably gone somewhere inside the paper. But he took the story, spent 5 minutes on that story, and that story went as page 1 lead or second lead. It was simple headline, birds 0, defense 2. And this is how he treated this. So what has happened over the last 10 years specifically, it's nothing to do with the government that we have at the center, but just how things have changed in journalism. I see a lot of organizations, even if they are legacy organizations or boutique organizations or niche organizations working in different areas, they are making these intersections. They are making this conversation heard. They're focusing on how to connect different issues and how to focus on the issue that's at hand. Especially water. If you look at Monga Bay, when I was at Monga Bay, we started special series on water, which was specifically looking at water issues. You have Third Pole, which is now completely focusing on the Himalayas and water issues. You have Down to Earth, which for like so many years, you have Pari, you have Down to Earth, you have Gaon Connection, you name it, and the organizations are completely now running special series on water issues, connecting whether it is agriculture, whether it is rural issues, whether it is economy, whether it is energy. Like for example, let's say, I'll show you another story which I was talking about in terms of business, impact in business. So when we say water, it is not just always a story about which people say poverty pond. It is beyond that. A lot of business papers are also looking at impact of water on business. So the Morgan story, we've been talking about how scarcity is an opportunity, the business part of it. We may agree or we may not agree that we want to go that way, privatization, but this is how a lot of organizations are looking into entry point. And this actually becomes very important for us because I know a lot of my colleagues here, they may or may not be completely working on environment all the time. A lot of us covers civic issues, a lot of us covers wildlife. So if tomorrow we just realize these intersections together as this community, together as this collective of people, this village, we can actually make a difference in terms of putting that issue out, making those connections and making that, making those connections and making the point that we are trying to make in silos. But as a community together, it gives us an opportunity to bring it all together.